Good morning. Thank you for joining. My name is Nicole Presby, and I will be delivering our webinar today, telling you what is new with all of our Nintex product suites. We have a jam-packed webinar for you today. We've got lots of great new Nintex features to cover. So one thing is that we won't be answering questions along the way. However, we do have time allotted near the end for Q&A at the end of the webinar. So please feel free to use the questions section in the GoToWebinar panel. And it's also worth mentioning that we are recording this webinar, and we'll send a link to all of the registrants in just a couple of days. So you will have that available for you. So let's jump in and get started. Okay, so what are we going to cover today? I'll just briefly kind of tell you who I am, explain exactly what Nintex is for anybody who may be joining the call kind of fresh into the Nintex space completely. And then we're going to jump into all the new features. There's lots going on with Nintex. There has been lots going on with Nintex, lots of new development for the past, over the past year or so. So we're going to kind of jump around and cover lots of stuff. They have just released Nintex Workflow and Nintex Forms for SharePoint Server 2016, which comes with an improved user experience, a scalable platform to accommodate on-premise deployment or a hybrid implementation. Then we'll talk about Nintex Hawkeye. So you'll learn about Nintex's brand new workflow analytics solution that gives you an unprecedented view into your process portfolio across the entire Nintex workflow platform. So it'll help you understand the size and scale of your workflows, make informed decisions regarding deployment and migration of workflows, analyze your data, and derive important insights. Next, we'll talk about Nintex Mobile Enterprise. So this allows you to take all your processes on the go. We'll experience how the Nintex mobile apps allow you to do your job wherever work takes you and access your SharePoint and Office 365 processes securely inside or outside of the firewall, and even offline. Then we'll jump in to take a look at some of the new features for Nintex Workflow, for Nintex for Office 365. Some of the key features include document generation within Nintex Workflow product, and then print to PDF, lookup runtime function, and control alignment within the Nintex Forms product. And then lastly, we'll just really quickly touch on the Nintex Cloud Accelerator program. So if you're interested in moving to the cloud, but you haven't made that jump yet, this will allow you to learn how this new incentive program can help you on your cloud journey. All right, so real quickly, who am I? I'm Nicole Presby. I am a senior SharePoint consultant here with Able Solutions. I'm also a virtual technical evangelist with Nintex, which basically just means that I love the Nintex products, and I love using them and implementing them for our clients, and I'm very passionate about it. Feel free to check out my blog, and then we, Able Solutions, are a Nintex premier partner. We've been a partner with Nintex for many, many years. They are one of our favorites. So feel free to jump on and check out anything about Able Solutions or Nintex after this webinar. Okay, so really quickly, let's talk about what is Nintex. So those who are not familiar, Nintex is a third-party tool built for SharePoint that allows users to quickly and easily automate business processes through custom workflows and forms. With the Nintex Workflow product, you can automate your core business processes with just a few clicks, no code, so you can give more complex projects the time and attention they deserve. Nintex Forms allows you to build and customize forms in a simple point-and-click kind of format, which makes it easier to get the data that you need to work efficiently. Nintex Mobile, which we're going to look at today, allows you to access those workflows and forms that you've created securely from wherever you are and on all of your mobile devices. So you can pack your work in your pocket and go, basically. And then lastly, the Nintex connectors. So Nintex provides a host of all these Nintex connectors, which allow you to easily connect processes with business applications, content repositories, cloud services, and lots more. Some of those examples are connectivity with DocuSign, Dropbox, Microsoft Dynamics CRM, Facebook, LinkedIn, Salesforce, Office 365, Yammer, all those kinds of things you can connect easily through the Nintex product suite. Okay, so that's what Nintex is, but where exactly does it fit in the SharePoint workflow landscape? So we like this slide here because this kind of gives a good visual of exactly what we talk about, what your options are when you think about automating processes within SharePoint. So at the very bottom we see we've got SharePoint out-of-the-box workflows. So these include things like basic approval workflows, collecting feedback, even a 3-state workflow. The problem is you can configure very limited things within those workflows, but there's no customization available. Kind of the next step up would be SharePoint Designer. So this is a free tool that allows you to create simple custom workflows, but still we've got limited action customization options. We can't port the workflows from one environment to another, so if you want to build in dev and then port them over to production once you're sure that they won't break everything, SharePoint Designer does not make that easy. And honestly, the UI just leaves a lot to be desired in my opinion. And then at the very tippy top of our pyramid, we have Visual Studio. So this is basically, if you can dream it, you can build it, but with a little asterisk, right? So that means you can build it if you have a developer skill set, a developer's time, budget, all of those things. So Nintex looks to fill that very big gap between all of those products. So we've got a very great graphical interface, a nice drag and drop designer. We have version history, which allows us to store major and minor versions of our workflow along the way. So if we ever need to go back and restore from a previous version or find kind of reference old versions, we can. A big one is that they're portable. So this allows us to develop in one environment and port them over to production with a simple import-export functionality. We have a graphical workflow history, which is one of the things that I personally have struggled with SharePoint Designer workflows is kind of debugging and following the process along the way is not always totally clear. Nintex makes great strides with that. And lots of other things. But Nintex kind of looks to come in and fill that big gap that is left with all of these products. Okay, so with that kind of basic context around exactly what Nintex is, let's jump in and start off talking about the Nintex for SharePoint 2016 release. So this latest release of Nintex Workflow and Forms for SharePoint 2016 improves user experience, includes the capability to start a workflow from a non-SharePoint environment, and gives customers a flexible workflow platform that can scale as part of your on-prem deployment, or if you're running a hybrid implementation of SharePoint 2016 and Office 365. So let's dive in. Nintex Workflow for SharePoint 2016 provides powerful but easy-to-use capabilities to automate a wide range of processes, from your day-to-day tasks to the most sophisticated business-critical processes. The intuitive drag-and-drop user interface, which is familiar from previous versions as well, facilitates the design, build, and deployment of these automated workflows without the need for traditional coding. Nintex Workflow for SharePoint 2016 is available in 20 languages, which is similar to Nintex Workflow for SharePoint 2013. As far as Nintex Forms for SharePoint 2016 gives you the ability to build and customize forms without code, including adding branding and presentation logic so that they work the way that you work. You can customize predefined layouts for any device, form factor, or screen size. And similarly, we see that Nintex Forms for SharePoint 2016 is available in 10 languages, similar to Forms for 2013. Okay, now let's talk about what's new in this release of Nintex for the SharePoint 2016 platform. Nintex basically has invested in 3 main areas. First of all, they wanted to make the product hybrid and cloud optimized. So what does this mean? Enterprises are coming considering hybrid environments now more than ever, and even with on-prem deployments, companies work with a variety of other cloud applications. So Nintex basically recognized the need to make sure that their products and services can seamlessly connect and interact with those cloud applications, right? Their second area of focus was to make the product modern and flexible. So users expect their software, both for commercial and personal use, to work across different platforms, right? We've all gotten very comfy with that and gotten used to that, and have great help and support information easily available. So with this in mind, Nintex has added support for all major browsers and invested in online help. And then lastly, Nintex focused on simplifying the installation and admin experience. So they wanted to make it easy for IT to install and administer the Nintex products, so there have been significant improvements in both of those areas. So let's take a look at the underlying features in each of these areas, starting with hybrid and cloud optimized. So the first thing I want to highlight is the redesigned toolbox. So there's a completely new UI and iconography that makes the actions much more visible and accessible from within the toolbox. But what's really exciting is the addition of Nintex connectors to the toolbox. Nintex connectors, which I briefly touched on a second ago, and you may know as Nintex Live, allows you to connect your on-prem workflows with a variety of cloud services like Office 365, Box, Dropbox. These actions have been present in prior Nintex products, but they were not always so easy to find. They were listed under Nintex Live up in the ribbon. But with this new toolbox design, they're now easily discoverable and are just a click away, right? So we can just click over to our core tab to get our kind of basic actions that we're used to, or click right over to the connectors to get to those kind of more advanced feature set. Another really exciting addition is the capability for external start, which lets you initiate workflows from a non-SharePoint environment. So this is a biggie. You can now start your workflows based on data and actions across a variety of business applications, such as Salesforce, Dynamics CRM, or items such as Twitter or text messages coming through. Okay, the second area that we'll look into is how Nintex is making their product more modern and flexible to use. So they're always, I think, kind of on the cutting edge of this capability. So what they've added here is support for all major browsers. Anyone who's worked with Nintex, I'm sure you're cheering silently in your office, right? Because in previous versions of Nintex, the only official supported browser was IE. But now you can design your workflows and create forms in the browser of your choice. So whether you like Firefox, Chrome, Edge, IE, I actually prefer IE, go figure, or Safari, you can use any of those browsers to work with your Nintex workflows and forms for SharePoint 2016. Now as far as help, the out-of-the-box help information that comes with Nintex products is excellent. This is kind of how I got my start in Nintex. I just jumped into the help and it holds your hand along the way. It's awesome. But it's hard to update without updating the whole Nintex product itself. So with Nintex for SharePoint 2016, they're now providing access to online help that'll be kept up to date without needing to install on your SharePoint farm. They are, however, leaving the local copy option still available for install if you don't want to connect to the online help. So they're kind of giving you both options depending on how you want to run it. Okay, and lastly, let's look into how Nintex is making the installation and admin experience simple and easy. Nintex Workflow and Nintex Forms work great together, and most of you guys purchase, license, and use the two products together. With Nintex for SharePoint 2016, they've kind of recognized that and they've introduced a single install experience. So it's going to let you install both products at the same time in your SharePoint environment rather than having to perform separate installation processes. So basically what you'll see is this screen here. You'll have the option to select which product or products you want to install. And if for some reason you only own one or the other, obviously only the option will appear for you for the licenses that you have purchased. Okay, and then the last big change that I want to point out with this new launch of Nintex for SharePoint 2016 is the simplified admin experience. So since the products are now a single install, it makes complete sense that there would also be a more streamlined admin experience. So today, those of you who may be familiar with administering the Nintex product suite in SharePoint, there are several entry points from within Central Admin for the various Nintex products and services. With Nintex SharePoint for 2016, they've reduced a lot of that complexity by having a single entry point for all your Nintex products from Central Admin. So Nintex Administration also has a simplified navigation menu and subcategories that let you easily manage all your licensing, setup, inventory, and reporting. So just to recap, the Nintex for SharePoint 2016 release is full of great new features and functionality that are going to enable you to design easily hybrid workflows with support across all major browsers and provide for easy installation and administration. Nintex for SharePoint 2016 is available as part of the workflow-based subscription model, giving you the choice and flexibility to purchase workflows as a service and deploy them either on-prem or in the cloud, or a combination of both. I will be providing contact information at the end of the full webinar today for those of you who are interested in getting more information on getting started with Nintex for SharePoint 2016. So hang with me for a few more minutes and we'll get to that contact info. All right, so the next big release I want to tell you about is Nintex Hawkeye. Okay, so imagine for a second being able to pick up a device and just intuitively understand your Nintex data better. Now imagine that this data was always up to date, always accurate, that it provided visibility across all of your environments, no matter if they're on-prem or in the cloud. You should be able to see quickly that your organization has, for instance, over 1,000 automated business processes that have been run over 300,000 times. Even better, you should know where that's happening. You should feel in control of your environment and know exactly how many sites include Nintex. This is what Nintex Hawkeye is aiming to achieve. So what exactly is Nintex Hawkeye? It's essentially the new workflow analytics solution currently available in the Enterprise edition of Nintex using the subscription pricing model that gives you an unprecedented view into your process portfolio across the entire Nintex workflow platform. Hawkeye helps you understand the size and scale of your workflows, make informed decisions about deployment and migration of your workflows, analyze data, and derive important insights. So essentially it's a way for you to get meaningful information out of the execution of your workflows and allows you to get kind of that 30,000-foot view of all of your processes. Now something that I think is oftentimes forgotten about once you start automating your business processes is that visibility is critical. You automate the everyday tasks that are important to creating and sustaining a thriving business, right? Purchase orders, expense approvals, onboarding new employees, creating documents, so on and so forth, right? These aspects of running a business are the tasks that nobody loves, but everybody has to do and no one questions. So small inefficiencies in the minds of most are simply the cost of doing business, right? But you know better and your users probably know better too. So what does visibility mean in the context of Nintex? We all inherently know that as you begin to better manage everyday routines with Nintex, it adds up to more productivity, a stronger bottom line, happier people, and opportunities for teams to focus on more strategic and inspiring endeavors. But how do you prove it? How do you measure and metric your workflow practice as a whole to focus on process improvement and to chart a path forward? It starts with questions that you or your coworkers may have likely asked, right? How many processes have I automated with Nintex? What types of processes am I automating? When and how often are those processes running? Who's involved and how effective are they? Are there bottlenecks? And if so, what are they and where are they? Am I getting value from my Nintex investment? And finally, how might my processes be improved? That's a big one. Nintex Hawkeye automatically captures people and process data and helps you define reports, dashboards, and analytics to help business and IT decision makers understand these important questions as well as many, many others. The visibility that you gain from Hawkeye should help you to address significant questions. So to further illustrate the possibilities, let's talk about a few scenarios in which Hawkeye can provide some really great value. First of all, migration. Whether you're upgrading to 2013, 2016, or making the move to the cloud, you not only need to know how many workflows you will be migrating, but where they all reside. Also, who built those workflows? Who owns them now? Is that person still around? Etc. Now, from a governance perspective, Hawkeye can help you get a clear understanding of process ownership, any areas where you may have a lack of documentation, SharePoint sprawl, and so on. With a better understanding of these aspects, you can start to use the tool to govern what's happening inside of the practice and make decisions going forward. And that will inevitably lead to the question, well, what's doing well, what can be improved, and what can be decommissioned? So with Hawkeye, we start to get a much clearer picture of our business process maturity and the state of our workflow practice as a whole. With more visibility, we're able to determine how our business critical processes are performing and where we should invest next. Which brings us to ROI. And when we talk about ROI, we're not just talking about ROI of the Nintex investment, but also the processes that have been automated. So as you see, it's a lot more than just asking how many, right? But how do we bring clarity to these questions? Good news. If you've been using the Nintex platform, you've already been capturing this valuable data. Bad news, analytics is hard and data management is hard. So, now that we know what Nintex is, I want to briefly touch on the core tenets of what the developers of Hawkeye are aiming to achieve. First, enhancing our ability to visualize data that's manipulated with Nintex workflow. Then, once we have a better understanding of how our workflows are performing, targeting those processes that we might need to fix, and finally implementing process improvements to ensure that we're getting the most out of the Nintex product suite. Nintex Hawkeye offers insights that help identify which processes yield the best business results and target those processes that might need improvement, making every aspect of your business run better. Okay, so now that we understand what Nintex Hawkeye is and some of the value that it can provide, let's talk about exactly how it works. So Hawkeye is built on 3 fundamentals: connecting to data, applying lenses to that data, and then sharing that data via dashboards. Essentially, the way that it works is that you start by connecting all of your Nintex-enabled environments to Hawkeye to gather your data from across your organization. Your data is safe, secure, isolated, encrypted, and only accessible to your users. Next, you apply lenses to filter that process data by process types, users, roles, departments, etc. And then finally, you're able to share intelligent reports and dashboards using best-in-class visualization tools like Microsoft Power BI. It's also worth mentioning that Hawkeye integrates with other business intelligence tools that support industry-standard OData APIs, right? So if you prefer, you can leverage your favorite BI tools with this as well. Okay, now let's go one step deeper. Nintex Hawkeye is a cloud service whose architecture enables an aggregate view across your entire Nintex platform. So what this means is that if you have a hybrid environment, you'll be able to pull all of your data into one Hawkeye portal, then identify and isolate each environment inside of that portal to essentially create filtered views of your data. But how does all that work? Deployment commences with the data collector, which is deployed to your Nintex-enabled SharePoint environment. So essentially there's bits that sit on top of SharePoint 2013, 2016, or Office 365. So you download the data connector, plug it into Nintex, and then data starts aggregating in the secure Nintex Azure platform, and that's how you access it. Essentially, it's passed up into the Hawkeye portal, which lives in the cloud. Now, behind the scenes, OData links are being put together so that the data can be accessed securely. But then what do you do with it? You can use the out-of-the-box Power BI embedded functionality right inside of Hawkeye portal, so you see the cool dashboards, graphs, and so on. As data is accumulated, you apply Hawkeye lenses to access the data for reporting and analysis. Or you can use one of your third-party BI tools like Power BI on desktop, Tableau, ClickView, any other analytical tool that supports OData, you can plug them into this as well. And at the end of the day, what do you want to do? Share a dashboard out, whether it's a manager dashboard, personal dashboard, or even an admin dashboard. So now let's talk about the 2 lenses that come with Nintex Hawkeye and are key to analyzing your Nintex process data. Each lens exists to help you answer particular questions, solve particular problems, and gain particular insights. First up, the usage lens. And so the usage lens provides a view of your organization's Nintex usage. For those of you familiar with Know Your Workflow, it's basically Know Your Workflow evolved. Now, as a side note, if you're not familiar with Know Your Workflow, it's a free script that Nintex created to provide some basic insight into your workflow practice. If you haven't run Know Your Workflow against your Nintex-enabled SharePoint environments, feel free to contact us. We can help you with running those scripts and getting a starting point understanding of what you currently have in place from an Nintex perspective. Okay, now back to Hawkeye. So the usage lens helps you understand key consumption metrics, user participation, and the return your Nintex deployment is providing. It helps you answer questions like, what's the extent of your Nintex usage overall? How many people are using Nintex? How many workflows or forms do you even have? Now in contrast, The process intelligence lens allows you to instrument and measure the activities occurring within a specific process automated with the Nintex platform. The premise behind the process intelligence lens is that if it's worth automating, it's worth measuring. Now, the process intelligence lens allows you to capture and measure the key metrics that are most fundamental to your business. So, for example, the closure rates of your customer complaints, the win rate of your proposals, the control over your corporate expenses. It's going to allow you to determine if a workflow process is making the company more efficient, if there are productivity gains, if SLAs are being enforced, etc. So basically, the concept is we've got all this data, and we need to make sense of that data. That's what the lenses are here to do, help you make sense of all of that data. The key difference to keep in mind is that the usage lens is about your Nintex data in general, and process intelligence is about your business process data. Okay, so this is all very, very exciting for your Nintex data, and because Hawkeye is a cloud service, there's going to be continual updates and enhancements to the analytics provided. Even more exciting is that Nintex recognized that you should be able to easily connect and capture those key metrics you need to measure your business. So you're able to use the tools that you already know, like the workflow designer, to do this. So capturing data is as easy as drag, drop, and go with the new Nintex Hawkeye beacon actions. Okay, so let's jump out and take a look. Jump over here. Okay. So I'm in the Hawkeye portal, and I've pulled up a couple of example dashboards to show you exactly how great all this stuff comes together. So here we see an example of a usage lens dashboard. Now remember, the usage lenses display information about your organization's overall Nintex usage. So we can click through the various tabs along the bottom to display different types of data and analytics. So, for example, on our current workflows tab, we see how many published workflows we have in our environment, how many times those workflows have been published, average amount of times each workflow has been published, and how many sites have workflows. And then over to the right, we see things like usage over time, as well as breakdown of workflow by site, type, and complexity. Now when we click over to the Instances tab, we can see things like total times workflows have been run, average time it takes each instance of a workflow to run, and then again, usage over time. Jumping over to the Tasks tab is going to give us information like how many total tasks have been kicked off from your various workflows, and on average, how long it's taking each assignee to complete those tasks. And then going a little deeper, on the Participation tab, we get information about the users involved in your processes. So we see things like how many people have published, initiated, and participated in Nintex workflows, as well as a breakdown of which task outcomes are being selected to complete those various workflow tasks. So in Nintex we can define all of these various different task outcomes, so we can see a breakdown of exactly how all of that is being leveraged across our environments. Now, over on our Environments tab, we see, for example, that we've got 4 environments connected to our Hawkeye portal and feeding data to this particular dashboard, and which of those environments are more heavily utilized than others. And then finally, we've got 2 different views into ROI. So the ROI Summary tab and the ROI Breakdown tab display calculations comparing the cost of workflow design and implementation using Nintex versus SharePoint Designer workflows or Visual Studio workflows based on a study conducted by Forrester. So all of the data on that dashboard is giving us insight into our organization's overall Nintex usage. That's what this guy's doing. So now let's jump over and take a look at a process intelligence lens example, which is what we see here. Okay. So basically, we see similar functionality on this lens as we saw with the usage lens, but the data is specific to the expense claim process. So on the spend tab that we're on now, we can see exactly which types of things are being expensed, by which departments, and in which locations. Moving over to the claims tab, we see how many claims have been submitted to date, as well as a few dollar amounts such as total claim amount submitted, average claim amount, etc. And then we can drill down into specific information related to performance, consistency, SLAs, requesters, and ROIs. The thing to keep in mind, and the key difference, is that all of this data is specific to one business process as opposed to all business processes automated with Nintex, as we saw in the previous dashboard with the usage lens. My IE just crashed. Nothing. No, I'm going to keep going. Okay. So to recap, Nintex Hawkeye allows you to get up and running quickly with pre-built dashboards and templates, answer your most important questions by filtering data by process types, users, roles, departments, and more, identify your top performance, and establish best process portfolio practices. All right. Next topic is really, really fun. So let's talk about Nintex Mobile. Now, Nintex Mobile is not necessarily new. Nintex Mobile apps were launched several years ago, and the Enterprise Edition has been around for about a year. But it's something that we haven't seen heavily leveraged amongst our clients to date. So we wanted to just take a few minutes to shine some light on this really cool functionality that may be a fit for your organization. Okay, before we jump into Nintex Mobile Enterprise, we want to take a step back and talk about what the Standard Edition offers. So with the Enterprise Edition is a separate product purchase. The Nintex Mobile Standard is available to you with your Nintex Forms license. So what does that mean? What great features might you have available to you that you don't even know about? How about keeping processes moving while you're on the move? So Nintex Mobile is going to allow you to take your processes on the go and take advantage of the best features of your mobile devices, including images, attachments, geolocation, and so on, to keep your processes moving. Nintex Mobile Apps allows you to do your job wherever your work takes you, and you can access SharePoint and Office 365 processes securely inside or outside of the firewall and even offline. Forms are rendered in native apps to ensure familiar experience for your users, delivering the right format for their device and platform. Nintex Mobile Apps is going to allow you to capture data, submit requests, start processes, complete tasks, review content, and approve documents all from your smartphone or tablet. And you don't need to be connected to a network to access and interact with your forms through the Nintex Mobile app. When offline, cached versions of your forms are available via the Nintex Mobile app. So you can even fill out and submit the form, which is stored in the outbox, and then sent through as soon as you connect back up to the network. So you can also save draft versions of your forms that you can submit whenever you're ready. Nintex Mobile now allows multiple profiles on a single device and multiple environments to be added to those profiles. So what does that mean? For those of you who are running a hybrid farm, this is going to allow you to show both on-prem forms and Office 365 forms in the same app to your users. And for shared device workers, the ability to be able to go into your profile and have saved and draft forms and easier access. And it's especially handy for those of us designers as well, because it allows us to have dev and production in our profile, so we don't have to log out and go back in to see our production items. And then if you're using mobile device management software to manage your company's apps, you can add your Nintex mobile app to your MDM software, so end users get the apps they need to be productive without compromising on privacy, while IT gets the management and security of the app. Nintex Mobile also ensures that your forms securely reach their destination, your data is secured before sending, and is sent reliably. Nintex Mobile requires usage authentication via Office 365, a Microsoft account, or SharePoint, so you can rest assured that it's always secure. Okay, so now we're going to take a look. Give me just one quick second, and let me see if I can get my device up. Okay, change of plans. I came in this morning and my screen mirroring software is not feeling like it wants to cooperate, which is okay. So we are going to revert to our backup plan, which will continue in our slides for now. And we'll talk about our Nintex Mobile, which is unfortunate because it's very, very cool to see live and in action, but hopefully this will help you to understand exactly what capability is available for you. Okay. So over here on the left-hand side, I have an Android phone. And on the home screen, you'll notice there's an app called Nintex Mobile. So this demo is from an Android device, but keep in mind that Nintex Mobile is available for iOS, Android, Windows, and Windows Phone. So if you go to the App Store for your device, you should find the Nintex Mobile app, which is free to download. Now, when I click on the Nintex Mobile app, I see a view of all of my forms. All of those forms are coming from various SharePoint lists in my SharePoint on-prem and Office 365 environments. Mine is actually showing forms from our dev environment and our test environments. We see preview functionality here, so these are forms that I'm testing out new versions of before we make them live. So that's why we see kind of a little bit of redundancy here. To make forms available in the Nintex Mobile app, you simply create an Nintex Mobile phone layout in the Forms Designer. And then once a mobile version of the form has been published, any users with access to create new items in that list in SharePoint will see that form when they open up their Nintex Mobile app on their device. Now, from there, I can simply click on the form I want to submit. So again, great apologies. Unfortunately, this was going to be so cool. That's the problem with live demos, right? So we'll all use our imagination. So let's say we clicked on a form called Safety Inspection. Then that brings us to kind of our third screenshot over here. So when we click on the form for Safety Inspection, the form opens and you can fill out all of the necessary information. And you'll notice that, well, it's easier to see live time with the device active, but the apps are native to the platform. So they behave just like you are used to apps on your device behaving. So you would give the item, a title. We have a date picker here, which would pop up a date picker to, as we're used to kind of date pickers on our mobile device. There's a geolocation field here. So that's going to automatically capture the location. And in this particular scenario, we actually have a workflow that runs behind the scenes that translates the latitude and latitude captured into an actual address and then populates a column on our list. We've got a people picker field to select our local contact. And then it's worth noting that when you're connected to the network, you'll have the ability to search the server for users, and when you're offline, any users that you previously selected appear for you in the form, and so on and so forth. So we would fill out all of that information. And then what we're not seeing in this screen cap is at the very bottom we have the option to add attachments. So I can use my camera's my phone's camera or my photo library to access images to include with, in this example, this safety inspection. And what's really cool is that you can actually do image annotation. So I can snap a picture and then on the fly kind of make a circle around exactly what's wrong, what I'm seeing, what needs to be fixed, and make notes right directly onto the image. And then when I submit my form, that gets submitted with the item that's created in our SharePoint list. Now when we submit, if we have network connection, then the item will go right on through to the underlying SharePoint list and kick off workflows if defined. If we don't have network connectivity, then the form's going to sit in the outbox, and as soon as we connect up again, it'll be sent through. So here we see we've got a couple of different views of our forms, right? So here's all of our forms, any drafts that we haven't completed filling out, right? So let's say I've started filling out a form, but then I get pulled away, or I don't have all of the required information. I can actually save the form as a draft and come back to it later in the app to fill it out and send it through, and then my outbox and so on. Okay, so that is the standard version of Nintex Mobile. So that's what comes with your Nintex Forms license. So now let's talk about Nintex Mobile Enterprise. It's going to take all those concepts one step further and deliver ability to quickly and easily create custom branded native mobile applications that work seamlessly with Nintex Workflow and Forms. Nintex Mobile Enterprise is a standalone version of the Nintex Mobile app that you can build on demand via a web-based interface, which we're going to take a look at. So we can create, deploy, and manage custom mobile apps via the Nintex Mobile Enterprise website. Each app you build can be customized to match your company's branding, so you can use your existing logo, color schemes to ensure that your employees and customers immediately recognize your app. We can generate standalone installation packages for any platform, including iOS, Android, Windows 8 Phone, and Windows 8 Desktop. And then easily pre-configure and embed credential types to authenticate users into the Nintex Mobile Enterprise app. So we can, rather than the user having to determine how they're going to log into the SharePoint environment, we can go ahead and embed that for them, and then they just enter their credential information. And then we also have the ability to distribute your apps via a couple of different options. So you can use any of the MDM software that you may have available, or lots of people we're finding don't necessarily have that MDM platform available, such as MS Intune, AirWatch, Good Technology, Mobile Iron, any of those, or a fully baked strategy to implement that. So Nintex wanted to be sure that the Nintex Mobile Enterprise app that's included with the Enterprise offering was something that could be consumed by individuals regardless of whether they had the MDM solution to deploy. So if you don't have one of those, they offer over-the-air deployment, which allows you to create an email notification. So you essentially manage a distribution group where a user can click on a link and download the app over the air or via an internet connection and install it directly onto their device. Okay, so let's just really quickly take a look at our example of an enterprise app and how it differs from our standard app. So again, here on the left, I've just got my Android phone, and you'll notice that right next to our Nintex mobile app we were looking at a second ago is an app called ShareNet. This is our custom branded Nintex Mobile Enterprise app. So notice that our custom logo is utilized as the app icon, and then when we open the app, it's going to display our custom logo throughout the app instead of the Nintex logo. And then the last thing to point out is that once we log into the app, we're actually showing, we're connected to the exact same environments as our generic Nintex mobile app, but we're showing a filtered subset of forms from those environments. So essentially, Nintex Mobile Enterprise is going to allow you to create custom branded apps for your organization. You could create line of business targeted or process specific apps using tools that you're already familiar with, like Nintex Workflow and Nintex Forms. And then give your business users access to only forms and workflows that are relevant to them on their device via a manageable and governable solution. Okay, so that is that. So now that we have some context around what the final product is, I just want to take a peek really quickly at how easy it is to create, deploy, and manage these custom apps from the Nintex Mobile Enterprise portal. So let's see. So here I am in the portal, and I've already created my ShareNet app. So this is where I'm going to manage all of my custom apps. And we see over here down the right-hand side that we've deployed an app, we've created an app available for deployment across all of our major devices. And here's where we can manage our distribution list to deploy those. In the interest of time, I'm not going to do a deep dive down into all of the various different settings, but you essentially have access to configuring things like which platforms you want to your user to access it through, how you want them to log in, you upload your logos and your artwork, and then you simply send it to queue to build, and it takes a few minutes, and then once the app is done being built, you have the option to deploy via MDM or that distribution list that we looked at. Okay, so one last thing on this topic. With all that being said, it's worth mentioning that as of tomorrow, Nintex is rolling out a number of significant updates to Nintex Mobile Enterprise, including a new name, which will be Nintex App Studio. So Nintex App Studio is going to still give you the capability to easily create your custom targeted and powerful mobile process applications without a single line of code. If you already have an existing Nintex Mobile Enterprise account, it's going to automatically migrate to Nintex App Studio along with your apps. And existing Nintex Mobile Enterprise features are going to continue to be supported along with any new functionality as it becomes available. So if you want more information on that, keep your ear to the ground. That's supposed to be rolling out tomorrow, or you can feel free to contact us if you want some more information on that. Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about some of the newest features that have been introduced into the Nintex for Office 365 products, and we're going to start with Nintex Workflow. Okay. The first new feature is document generation. Now, for those of you familiar with the on-prem products, this is different than like the convert document action on-prem, which basically allows you to convert a Word doc to a PDF or various other file types. The document generation action in Nintex Workflow for Office 365 actually allows you to dynamically generate a document in Word, PowerPoint, or Excel, and then populate the template with workflow variables. So as an example, we see here we have a quote request form where a user can fill out this Nintex form with various pieces of information about a requested quote for a client job, such as selecting the client from a people picker, or sorry, from a lookup that's looking up to our master client list. We specify our description, an hourly rate, estimated hours. The form actually calculates the total estimate for us. And then once the form's submitted, a workflow kicks off to query for all additional necessary client information and then send it through for approval. And then ultimately, the workflow passes all of that data captured on the request form, as well as that additional data queried from our client list. It kind of combines it all together and then pushes it through into our quote document template and generates a PDF that's uploaded into a document library. And then what we see on the right here is the actual document generation action. So this is how you would actually manage generating your documents through the workflow action. Essentially, you can manage your template. What's really cool is that you can choose to create a new template or manage the existing template, whether it be Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all right from your Nintex workflow designer. So if I were to click on edit in Word, it's going to launch Word with, let's jump over, a new Nintex add-in that's going to allow you to add your variables from your workflow directly into the template file. So here's an example of our template file for our quotes. And we can see that over here to the right is that new add-in where we can pull variables and populate them over here. Everywhere we see that the little, less than, greater than, anything in between those are our workflow variables. So it's dynamically pulling that information and populating. And then once the workflow runs, that action executes and a new document can be found with all of those pertinent properties populated as we defined in the document template. As we see here, here's our final PDF that is generated. Very cool stuff. Okay, the next feature in workflow is kind of a small one, but also kind of a big one. The default open mode for task forms can now be configured to open and edit. So essentially this is going to save a click. Instead of the user having to open a task in view mode and then edit it to complete the task, when they open the task, it's already in edit mode and ready for them to respond. Now, we can also have the ability to include attachments and email outside the tenant with our send an email action. So this allows us to send emails using the email service native to Microsoft Office 365 or an external email service configured by Nintex. Okay, now talking about some of the new features with Nintex Forms for Office 365. This one's not specifically Office 365 specific, it's actually an enterprise feature, and it's print to PDF. So essentially when we open up Forms Designer, we now have this option in the form settings to say that we want to allow users to print our form to PDF. We also have a new control for page break where I can drop it onto my form. So if we have a really big long form that we know is not going to print properly on like an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, for example, we can define where we want to break our information so that it displays appropriately. And then when the user uses it, they come to their form and up in the ribbon they have access to this print to PDF button in the ribbon. They click it and it generates a PDF which they can then either print or save to another location. The Lookup runtime function was previously available on-prem and now it's available on 365. For those of you who aren't familiar, it essentially is going to allow you to retrieve data from a SharePoint list and then display that data in a calculated value control. So you can also use it as a conditional in creating a rule. So what we've got here essentially is this item field is a lookup to our product list. And then this price field is going to be our calculated value. So it basically looks to the same product list and says for laptop, pull back the price of one laptop and calculate that times the quantity selected to provide me with the default price and then calculate the total line item cost. And then we also have used it in a condition over here to say if the quantity that the user selected is greater than the quantity that we have in stock, we're going to display this message here. Very cool stuff. And then lastly is another kind of small one, but it'll make your life so much easier, is control alignment is now included. So if you've got all your controls and they're kind of all askew over here, you can select them all and then choose to align them. So if we want to snap them all together, we can make a cleaner form a lot more quickly and easily. All right, now the last thing I want to mention is the Nintex Cloud Accelerator program, so also known as NCAP. It was designed specifically for existing customers to join you on your cloud journey. So this program rewards loyal Nintex customers with a limited time incentive program that's going to open up cloud capacity and make it easy to meet your migration needs around both 2016 and Office 365. Now, when purchasing NCAP, existing customers are going to continue to have an unlimited workflow model, so everything stays the same with your on-prem environment. You also get Nintex Forms on-prem. Whether you had previously purchased or not, you now get Nintex Forms. I think Nintex recognizes that the products are really so much more powerful when you use them together. And then the entire product suite for Office 365 is included when you join the NCAP program. And then Nintex Hawkeye and Nintex Mobile Enterprise with the Enterprise Edition only. Whew! Okay, so that's what's new with Nintex. And it is a lot. There has been a lot going on, and that's like the 30,000-foot view of all of these really big, cool new things that are happening. And as you can tell by the Nintex Mobile Enterprise even changing as soon as tomorrow, turning into Nintex App Studio, things are going to be ever evolving. So we'll see. I think we've got a couple of questions that have come in, so we'll see if we can answer some of those. As far as next steps, if any of this interested you, if you are intrigued by any of this, if you feel like, if you're thinking about making the move to SharePoint 2016 or Office 365 and need to move Nintex with it, or are interested in Nintex for the first time, contact us. If you need help, running the Know Your Workflow scripts, or interested in, analyzing your workflow data with Hawkeye, mobile capabilities are very, very cool and something that I think is underleveraged for a lot of people. Or just in general, questions about your current licensing and which of these great features may already be available for you to leverage. Contact Carol Redaway, who is our wonderful sales representative, and she'll be able to help kind of direct you toward any of those answers. Okay, so with that, bear with me for just one quick second. Let me take a look and see if we've got any questions. Okay, so one question I've got here, can you pull information from other systems such as CRM to use with document generation? Yes, definitely. So this is going to combine some of the features of the Nintex workflow product. So essentially, you would use some of those connector actions that we talked about to query out to these external systems wherever your CRM resides, pull that data into the workflow, store it to variables, and then you can leverage it in your document generation.
That is an actual question.
Currently available for analytics and ROI calculations on a SharePoint 2010 environment. Reason you need to generate some info to help support a move to 2016.
Do you want me to tell him we'll get back with him on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll just respond.
Okay, let's see what else we have. Multiple custom apps using, oh yes. Okay, so another question around Nintex Mobile Enterprise. Can you create multiple custom apps using Nintex Mobile Enterprise or just one? That's a great question, and that's exactly the point. Actually, yeah, I think their intention is for you to create multiple. So I would have to check exactly how the cost breakdown works, how the licensing works. I want to say with the standard, with the base level, I'll say Nintex Mobile Enterprise purchase. You either get 1 or 5 custom apps, which I know is kind of a big range. But then essentially the bottom line is you purchase app packs in groups of 5. So whether you start with 1 or start with 5, if you need more than that, you can always add on more in groups of 5, if that makes any sense. And that's the whole idea, I think, is that you would start to create, rather than your users going to one Nintex mobile app, which is great enough on its own, but then having to kind of like filter through which forms are relevant to them or which process they're trying to achieve. You can create, department-specific apps, line of business and process-specific apps. They're all custom branded for your corporation.
David.
Are you aware of any capabilities to initiate a workflow externally? Well, I imagine that.
Okay, another question. Are you aware of any capabilities to initiate a workflow externally? Yes, so that's one of the big new features that is coming with Nintex for SharePoint 2016 is that exact ability. So now with Nintex for SharePoint 2016, we can kick off these workflows from any number of external triggers. So yes, that option is definitely available. Okay, what about the other ones?
These ones you need up?
David.
If we already owned Nintex for 13, is there a cost upgrade to 13? I don't need to.
No, there,
Skip that.
it's just a, you can skip it, but,
Okay.
or you can just say, mention that there is no cost to upgrade.
Okay, and then another question that came in, if we already own Nintex 2013, is there a cost to upgrade to 2016? No, I don't believe there is a cost associated with that upgrade. Oh. Do you want to do it? Okay.
All right, so I think that looks like that may be,
Oh, important note to make, there is no cost to upgrade to the next Nintex product version as long as you're on software assurance. So, very important denotation to make. All right. Now, so I think that's all the questions that came through, but like I said, if you've got questions that we weren't able to answer during this very, very whirlwind webinar, there was so much to cover, feel free to reach out to Carol Redaway. You can reach out to myself, but honestly, Carol will probably be able to help you a lot more rapidly. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is we actually, as a company, provide an extensive 3-day Nintex training. So we do a deep dive into the Nintex workflow and Nintex Forms products. Over the course of 3 days, we leave no stone unturned. We provide a training environment, so you have a safe place to get in and play with all of the new things that you've learned. We provide kind of lab exercises for you. So each day there's about 4 different exercises that we'll put you through to help you get familiar and comfortable with using the tools. And we actually we provide those either for a company. So if you've got, I think, is it more? 10 or more users who are interested in taking this training, will actually come to you and provide your own 3-day deep dive training. And then we also offer open enrollment sessions, which are delivered virtually, or if you're local to us, which is Alpharetta, Georgia, so in the Atlanta area, or if you want to fly in or drive in, feel free. I love having people in the room with me. So we deliver that virtually with some people in the room, and the next one is scheduled for October 11th through 13th. So if you want even more information, if you're already up and running with Nintex in your environment, but you just need kind of more help on really getting started and really leveraging the power of these products, definitely jump onto the Able Solutions website or contact Carol Redaway. She can get you more information on that too. All right, and with that, 3 minutes to spare. I can't even believe it. So unless maybe we'll sit for 1 more minute and see if there's any additional questions, and then we will jump off.
sorry, this way. Wait, what? Does that mean if a workflow is kicked off externally, does the user need access to the internal site at all, or how does that work in a more technical capacity? I have no idea.
Okay. Oh, I'm messing you up. Like breaking your mouse.
Okay, so thank you all for your time. We really appreciate it. Hopefully this kind of got you jumped onto, oops, sorry, hold on, we lost our, let's jump back to our, there we go. Apologies for that. So thank you so much for your time. We look forward to hearing from you, and have fun on your Nintex adventures. All right, thank you all.